Alrighty, good morning, everybody. It's William Chung speaking. It's about 5 minutes before the market opens, and we have a very big gap up taking place today, both the spiders and the IWMs. It's actually gapping up higher than what I believe it's supposed to be the 52-week high. So there's a good chance that with such a large gap taking place, that it may very well drop back down, at least pull in for the first few minutes. Every morning, I submit a gap list of stocks that are gapping up and down. And at this moment in time, there seems to be quite a bit of big caps that were potentially going to be gapping down, actually quite a large list. And that is typically posted in our chat room, but also on our Facebook group, as well as I believe we also publish that on the blog page as well. So with that much said, we're going to look to short the open and perhaps play it down because the nature of the market is that the price is opening above the 52-week high. There really isn't going to be any targets or anything else of that nature we can really use to gauge any area that might be relevant to us. So it's going to be pretty important to read the candlesticks fluently in order to get indications of what might or might not be taking place. With that much said, as you can see here, the closing price is roughly around 142.82 on this 2-minute chart, and that was the prior day's close. With regards to the level 2 area, you can see that it's gapping up pretty close to $1. Sorry, let me correct myself. It looks like a price closed yesterday at 142.75 and is going to be opening at 143.63. So almost a whole entire dollar move. With that much said, let's take a quick peek at the windows that I will be using. On the bottom right corner, you'll see my time and sales. In the middle is my level 2. My executions window is over on the middle of the right side. Positions window is going to be at the very top right corner. Directly underneath that is going to be my 2-minute chart, followed by the top left corner, which is my 5-minute chart, 15-minute chart in the middle, and at the very bottom is going to be my hourly chart. Good chance that everything's going to get all flattened out like this as soon as the market opens because of such a big gap that's so far away from the prior day's price. But we'll have to read the candlesticks on the 2-minute chart as best as we can, and we'll certainly play it accordingly. So, as I mentioned earlier, I think the first intention, because there was so many stocks that are on the gap down list, quite a few actually. My intention is to short it down a little bit, see if we can get a 20-cent move, maybe a 30-cent move if we're really reading price well before we exit. But once again, it is a gap up, so it does favor an upside move. We'll have to play that one step at a time based on what we see and what we can read from the charts. Alrighty. Roughly about one more minute before the open, and we'll see if we can make something happen here. Oh, incidentally, on an alternative note, I find it difficult to try to go long at this moment on the opening as soon as the market opens, specifically because of the nature of the gap list. So I try to take a good position on the downside with the anticipation that we're going to have follow through to the upside, perhaps a little bit later, maybe even after the 9:35 reversal time, maybe even getting closer towards 10. Alrighty, so market should be opening up any second now. We're looking for a little bit of red, give us an idea. All right, so there we go. A little bit more red would give us, all right, so here we go. So we're going to take 300 shares short to start. And we're going to add 200 more. Average price is now at the 53s. Price is at the 49s. It is actually working out that the way we anticipated. That's a wonderful sign. We're going to short 200 more. The average price is now the 51s. Current price is the 53, so I'll need to be exceptionally careful going into this area here. We don't want this thing to drag too much against us. We're currently around $15 in the negative, and now 21. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on this so that we don't get hurt too terribly badly. It is a little bit higher risk to take an entry specifically this early, but I do see a little bit of opportunity here. Alrighty, so we're still hovering around the break-even point. If price goes perhaps over the 60s area, I'll certainly consider closing out the entire position because I don't want to give up too much. Even at this point in time, since the price is now at the 49s, I'll even consider, say, 55s as being an area that I may need to get out. But we'll have to read these candles and see how we project what might be taking place. Alrighty, so this tail on the 5-minute chart is roughly about halfway of the days or of the entire range. So we need to be extra careful here. I certainly don't want this 5-minute candle to go green. If it goes green, I can get myself into a little bit of a pickle playing this gap or playing this type of a gap. Alrighty, so it looks like price seems to be meandering around this area. Doesn't look like, looks like it's hanging around the 55s or hasn't really broken higher than the 55, so that's not too terribly bad of a sign. Just a little bit of a downside move is definitely welcome. Alrighty, so on the 2-minute chart, yeah, a little bit more selling. I'm going, actually, here it is, a little bit more selling. Is that, alright, so we got some purple prints. So I'm up to 1,000 shares, and we'll have to be cautious how we read through this. Last entry price is the 37s. We're currently at the 34s. Average price is the 46s, 47 area, and that's a lot of green prints. Alrighty, so maybe I should take some of this off the table. Alright, so if we see, alright, I need to take off half here. We'll put some of that in the bank. Alrighty, so far on the 5 minute chart, we have one hard red bar down, and it looks like this price might be coming up a little bit more. Um, I don't. I'm doubtful that this is going to be. It's hard to say if this is going to be a reversal bar and then it starts moving up. I think it might be a little tiny bit early. Alrighty, so we got a little bit more of a downside move here, so that's certainly, most certainly welcome. Alrighty, so not getting a whole bunch of force to the downside or a whole bunch of selling pressure. Looks like we're hanging around this area a little bit longer. Okay, so a tiny little break there. Okay, so we're down to the 25s. No real area here to correlate it with. It's going into this area of congestion. Don't know if that's going to play a role. All right, so we're losing a little bit of that tail, or we're getting a little bit of a tail coming in. Let me take off 300 more. I'm down to 200 shares. Alrighty, so on the 5 minute chart, we do have two bars on the downside. Bottoming tails taking place on both of these symbols, sorry, both of these candles. I'm beginning to suspect this area here that you see on the 15 minute chart might be showing a little bit of force there, or a little bit of influence. Actually, it'd be easier if I just threw down a line here. Okay, so it looks like price is moving all around this area. I should have put that on earlier. Okay, so a little bit of a higher low so far. We need price to come down a little bit more if we're going to stay in this trade. We don't need this area here to be a little bit area of support, especially if we're trying to short it down. Alrighty, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off another 100 shares. My average, well, I only have 100 shares left, as you can see up here. Average price is the 37s, last price is the 32s, and I'm currently up 5 cents. Unrealized gain is $5. Total quantity so far is 1,900 shares. Net profit and loss 132. Alrighty, so if price, alright, I need to close out this position here. Alrighty, so now I'm flat, no longer holding any shares. My realized profit is 122. Note how it's making a higher low here on the 2 minute chart, opening a little bit higher on the 5 minute chart. Alrighty, so I think the intention at this point is keep a solid eye on in this range here. If it breaks below the 20s, which is the low of the day, perhaps we'll consider shorting it again. If it shows any type of buying pressure within this area here, we'll consider going long. It's now 9:40, so I think it might be about right. It's not exactly a reversal time, but I would suspect that by now most of the gap fill area or potential gap time has concluded. Alrighty. Looks like there might be a little bit more momentum to the downside on the 5-minute chart as well as the 2-minute chart. Let's see if we can re-enter the position under the 20s. All right, so a little bit of strength here. A lot of green coming through. I think I'm going to take 200 shares long. These tails here are quite interesting. Perhaps an area of support taking place over in here, especially with that buying pressure showing all these tails pressing it, not allowing it to go lower. We're not 100% sure whether or not it's going to press higher at this moment. Alrighty, so our average price or our 200 shares average price is at the 33s. We're currently at the 38s. We need the price to break over this top of this bar here for us to have any type of confidence. And there it is. Perhaps we're going to add another 100 shares. Alrighty, so that last entry was at the 44s for another 100 shares, bringing my average up to the 36s, 37s. So clearly I need to protect the 36, 37s, or at least not let it drift too much against me. Considering protecting the 44s if necessary. Alrighty, so looking over on the 5-minute chart, we'd like to see the top of the prior bar, this red candle here, broken. That would be a nice little sign of show, or a little show of strength. My goodness, this seems not very directional at this moment. Alrighty, so this first green bar looks like it was taken out with a new high here, which complements this area here on the 5-minute chart. New high, sorry, high greater than the previous two highs. So that's looking fairly positive, a little bit on the bullish side. Although this seems to be a little bit of stickler area. We're not really getting that multi-bar flow or multi-green bar flow at this moment. Alrighty. So I'm going to take off 46s by 47s, and last position was in at the 44s. If the 49s, 50s. Alrighty, so if price comes down to, let's say, the 44, if the price comes down to the 46s on the bid side, I'll take 100 shares off. There it is. Oh, I don't think that executed. All right. So once again, let me make sure I click into there. And once again, if it hits the 46s whoops, there we go. Okay. So it looks like it might be, oh, hammering away the wrong keys here. Okay, so let's do that again. 43s by 41s. All right, so I'm just going to simply close out this position. Or actually, what I'll do is I'll leg out of this position. 42s by 41s. All right, so let me take out 200 shares. And I think we're just going to hold on to this 100 shares. Alrighty, so that's a positive sign going into the 53s. Just a quick position summary review. I'm currently long 100 shares at the 44s. Current price is the 53s, 54 area. I'm roughly about up. I'm up roughly about 11 cents on this share, which is the equivalent of roughly about $10–11. My net profit and loss is 144. If I liquidated this 100 shares right this very minute, my realized gain is 134, and it's roughly 20 minutes into the trading day. Alrighty. Uh, Red bar coming in. Don't know if this area here, all these tails, is going to play a role. But I am prepared to exit the last 100 shares at the current moment. If I do, it'll be a $1 loss. Okay, so that was a lot of purple going through there. So well, perhaps not. The bar is still green. Alrighty, it's been nice to see the tops um, get taken out with this bar here. It certainly seems to be a little bit of selling. Perhaps not a huge amount, but a little bit here. We can see by the tails and the inability for price to move higher on the 2-minute chart. Not much to see on the 5-minute chart. As you can see, the time in sales is all over the place. Purples, reds, greens, whites, yellows, all kinds of things going on in there. Alrighty, so that's not a very comforting looking tail here. Um, Certainly looks like if this price goes below the, let's say, the 40s, I might need to get out of this trade altogether. Alrighty, so I'm getting ready to get out of this trade if we print some 40s in here. Alright, so there's the 40s, so I'm going to close out the last portion of this trade. Alrighty, so my total realized profit is 130. For roughly about 55 minutes of work. And perhaps we could be done for the day. The alternative with this gap up, 15-minute tail looks as though the price might move higher, but as you can see, the current price with the 15-minute candlestick right beside it, it's still within this whole entire range. It's actually not showing very much conviction at all. Same thing is taking place on the 5-minute chart. We do have some bottoming tails, but downward pressure with bottoming tails. A little bit of sidewaysness here, which is a little bit, it's beginning to feel a little bit like the prior day or the past few sessions where it was just sort of that sideways channeling, which would make this a very difficult or much longer day than I'd like to see it. But nonetheless, this is for educational purposes. So with that in mind, I'm not a very, very huge fan of teaching how to play consolidation spaces or congestions. So we'll have to take a quick peek and see how this works out, so that there is a little bit of um, relationship or understanding of how that could be done. We did play this to the downside, then to the upside. It's hard to, and this is a dangerous place to take a trade here. Any downside movement or upside movement is going to be very limited in scope if we're using the low of the day and the high of the day as potential areas of support or resistance, or the day's range. Getting in here right at the middle of what looks like the day's range doesn't leave for a huge amount of room for the price to move up before it hits the high of the day or down to meet the low of the day. And thereby not necessarily making it worthwhile. And with all these tails, as you see on the 2-minute chart, could be a formula of getting snapped out of a trade or holding a trade too long, thinking that it's going to stay within the range and then it moving against your position, or holding into a position where it's just not favorable. For example, if we got in at the 45s and the price stayed around the 41s, and it prolongs there for too, or it stays in that area for too long, the first nature of most traders is to give it a little bit more room to the downside, which would be a dangerous move, because what's going to end up happening is now we're talking about a little bit of a breakdown going outside of this 2-minute range, and then you just give it more room and more room and more room, and then pretty soon the price is at the low of the day, and there has to come some point in time where the decision has to be made when the trade is not working out and it's time to get out. So getting involved with the middle of the range is a little bit psychologically difficult, but also not necessarily very prosperous or profitable. Alrighty. So the game plan is this. Um, on the 2-minute chart, there isn't much going on. On the 5-minute chart, potential downtrend, depending on how the next few candles on the 5-minute chart closes, and if price actually moves higher, we could see a potential upside. It's very difficult to tell at this moment. 15-minute chart, obviously going sideways. Current price level is trading within the first bar's range, giving us not much of an indication of direction. Looks like not much to say on the hourly chart. It looks as though big tail on the bottom, but still not much conviction going outside of this range. So it could be played in, there's 4 different ways to play this at this point in time. The first one is to watch how price develops as it goes into the high of the day. And if it gives you an indication that it is going to be an area of resistance, then it would be a short to the downside, with the anticipation that the low of the day would be a potential target area. However, if the bars start moving up quite strongly, going through and breaking through the high of the day, then the intention would be to go long. The inverse would be the same, based on price coming down to the low of the day. The low of the day would have 2 different types of plays attached to it. If the low of the days hold and it becomes an area of major support, then the play would be to wait till it comes down to this range here, look for some buying pressure, and then take the stock higher to the top of the range. If there's a strong move to the downside that is convincingly going to break through the low of the day, then we of course would short it. So those are basically the four different plays that can potentially take place while we watch this thing continually go sideways. And at this moment in time, certainly not very attractive. So if you take a look at the 2 minute chart, um, low of this range is roughly about the 40s or so. The high of the range is roughly about the 54, 55, perhaps the 52 range, not leaving a whole bunch of wiggle room to try to prosper from it. Um, as I mentioned earlier, this is very, very difficult to try to enter this trade because of the nature of where price is currently at. Not much of a move to the high of the day, which is, I believe, the 60s, 63. So taking this to move from, let's say, the 55 to the 63 is not much of a gain. Um, Actually, this is a little bit encouraging to see it go higher, but I don't. But it's safer to watch how this candle goes into the 60, 63 range, which is the high of the day, before making a decision to either short it or go long, breaking over the high. Alrighty, so that's not much power to the downside either. It was a small little tiny bit of show of strength to the upside, but looks like that's getting met with some selling pressure here. So as you can see, it's very, very difficult to take a trade into this congestion range, knowing where the highs and the lows are, or the current movement of price. So with that much said, it is slightly past 10 a.m. Eastern time, and I think I'm going to conclude this video and keep this one a little bit shorter and tight. So hopefully everybody did well on their trades today. Just a quick review. I was trading the IWMs, which is the ETF of the Russell 2000. My total number of shares is 2,600 shares. I made $130 from this trade, or sorry, since the open, and it's currently roughly 10 o'clock, 10:04 a.m. Eastern. So the market has been open for roughly about 34 minutes. Although our last trade was ended much before that. Alrighty, it's William Chung for CoreTradingConcepts.com. We're also on Facebook under the Core Trading Concepts groups, and my and I'm also the author of a guide to core trading concepts. Please join us on Facebook, and we look forward to working with you in the near future.